I put a little bit more thought into my selections this time. Normally I've just been kind of following patterns and stuff, saying, I need money, I know this, the merchant trader combination, whatever. Not really doing the game as much justice as I could, but I'm having a damn good time playing it because of that. And sometimes I would definitely play this even opposed this way, but because of that, extra thought. Yeah, the English are looking and saying, you know what, our competition is Portugal, let's take them down a notch. We win a war against them, and that looks very likely with our naval advantage and our numerical advantage there. On top of that, we have an advantage over in China. And that got me to thinking about some things that I hadn't really been considering as I went, which is that some of the historical wars of the era were not invasions into areas where one side had a significant amount of little pieces trying to knock the other guy out of that area where they had a significant amount of pieces. You might make that argument, well, you can definitely make that argument for India. India was fought out that way. The English had tokens and a presence there. Other people did too, and they didn't get driven out, but the French also had some. The French probably got there first. Were a little larger, I think, before Clive. But then basically, that was militarized and turned into something that was warfare. Most colonial possessions did not change hands that way. Most of them changed hands in a situation where either a war here, which can only really be represented by the naval forces, or as part of one of those wars, actually, is usually the case. Something was captured at sea. Again, it's the naval forces that do this. It's not some merchant factors that, or colonists that are present or whatever. You might make an argument that there were, some Englishmen in New York, a significant number, who helped the surrender, but when it came down to it, the surrender was the movement of the ships there. Now, you might say, well, the Navy probably wouldn't go there if there weren't, yeah, okay. But that's not the case with, the Spanish islands that were seized by the English at various points, or during the French and Indian War, the conquests there, Canada, entirely French, except for some trappers or whatever, but it certainly wasn't, numerically the army, any military capability there was entirely French. So I don't feel like the military aspect actually works as one would expect historically, which is kind of sad. And I'm not sure how much that affects me. Anyway, we're about to do a military. Portugal and England only share one area, which is over here. We'll do the naval segment. The English have 6 dice, and this is done simultaneously, but I only have 1 free hand. So they get 2. We'll steal one of their blanks. And the Portuguese have 4 dice, and I should have 10 dice. 2, 4, 6. I cheated for the English. Okay, so the Portuguese got two dice as well. The English are going to re-roll all 6 of their dice so that they have a chance of winning this. And they do not succeed there either. Now, I have to look up the combat because, war on land was supposed to happen first. Yeah, it's a 5 dice maximum. I forgot about that. Okay, so I'm going to re-roll 5 dice the second time. Okay, so the English actually lost, so they lose a fleet. And now on the war on land, the English have two. Oh, there's an extra die. I don't know. Maybe one. The English have 2 dice, and the Portuguese have 1, and that's going to stalemate. Now, at this point, one side could surrender. That doesn't seem very useful. The Portuguese are kind of impressed. They've just reduced the odds differential that's against them. So we will go another round. Now this time I'm going to do the war on land first, which I'm supposed to do. It doesn't really make a difference. And the English do much, much better. And they wipe out a Portuguese. Now, let me make sure I understand how this is. Okay. Oh, I think casualties actually happen. Each warring rolls a number of dice, maximum of 5, then casualties are removed. Okay, I think it's not the differential. So actually 2 English were killed and 1 Portuguese over there. But here, in the naval combat, but here, a Portuguese is killed. Now he's just dead. You know, again, that wouldn't really be what happened. You would actually be seizing the trading posts, etc., and putting them under, a military control. I do not like the military aspect of this game. I don't think, I was excited about the game overall, but now that I'm actually playing with this and testing it out, I don't think it actually represents as well as I would like in quite a few different ways. Hey, looking at things with a different light. Now we're at the naval. We're limited to 5 dice, but actually we only have 4 fleets because we took damages. We get 1 hit. The Portuguese have 3. They get 1. I'm going to re-roll the English dice. They lose. Wow, they're not having a good war here. Okay. We'll continue on. It's going to be 3 dice versus 3 dice. English first. We're just, again, one side or the other could surrender. The English fail. The Portuguese have 1 hit, so the English take their re-roll. They don't have to do this, obviously. And they lose again. The English are beginning to curse their luck here. They're getting badly beaten. I could surrender. And it's kind of funny because I'd surrender, but I win China out of it in exchange for a prestige, some European concessions or something. I don't think I can afford to just surrender, so I'm going to keep going and hope my luck turns. I've got something of an edge. And there goes the English Navy. There is no more capability for warfare. The English are out of fleets. The Portuguese wouldn't mind shooting up those merchant ships, but the English must surrender. What does that mean? It means we give the Portuguese 1 more prestige. And now they're 2 away from winning. And we were kind of hoping to schwack them down so hard that they would get beat up. Is there room for alliances in this game? Yeah, well, sort of. Not really. England just faced Portugal all on their own. Now, if someone else had, for example, the Dutch, a sovereign card, they can go out and beat up on the Portuguese. And that's the equivalent to an alliance as best as you have it. But there's really no synergy between the countries, etc. Again, I feel like the military aspect of this has really gotten short shrift. This put Portugal in an interesting position. Hey, I just got attacked. Now, I got lucky there, and that's great, although I did lose China. But my card that I have up is the Explorer Ambassador. Imagine that. I could actually make myself immune to an attack by the Dutch, who have a sovereign card out. Given the size of their navy, I think I'm going to do that and thereby waste my Explorer card that I had intended to use. Now I have another Explorer back here. This is kind of problematic because I have the Viceroy card here. And I only have logistics of one. I was planning on exploring an African place and actually setting up a colony this turn. Everything's going to get delayed. But I could go into, say, Siam or something like that and start working towards that. So, my big worry is if I... Oh, no, I don't think I had the Conqueror. Yeah, I don't have the Conqueror programmed. So, I'm not losing out on much. I'm just... Well, no, this has 4 population. This has 4 population. Huh? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to colonize anything very easily. Let's go through the rest of what people did. Let's go on. Used the governor, actually. Bought myself a booming city, taking that away from the English, in part because, hey, look, all the merchant transactions now are going to go with slaves. That's going to hurt everybody's diplomacy. Cool. I just like that. That's going to cause problems. Dutch, well, that war option, which wasn't what they were going for, is gone. So they went a colony here, got themselves a prestige marker. And one thing I like about the historical variant, or whatever the nation's variant, is that it slows the game down. Options that are maybe good overall, like getting Mexico, aren't going to give you victory points directly. So it's not going to be a huge weight on the speed of the game, but I always feel that these kind of lighter Euro-ish games, I often feel at least, if I'm enjoying them, that they are just over too fast. And this one, with the variant, feels like maybe a little less. The French, yeah, they would love to do science and all, but they had to clear up their rebellion. That pushes me back to card picking. And now with the Portuguese here, only France can beat up on them. But they might. I think when I played the English, I forgot to move their diplomacy marker down for going to war. One limitation on things. One reason why, hey, the French high diplomacy can be a useful thing in their big fleet and all kind of stuff like that. I've been flipping the cards over. What the hell? Is that one right? Yes. Put them here. But, yeah, I think I was so excited to go to war that I forgot to drop my my diplomacy down. Catch us up. And then the English did an explore and sleaze their way into South Africa, which they care about, and getting their prestige back up. The Portuguese did the Viceroy. Rebel might have been good just because Viceroy is such a crappy card for them, but it's, you know, now I can colonize on a future turn Indochina, and that seems like a good idea. Spaniards colonized over here. I don't know how valuable that is because now they've got 2 prestige and they haven't reached their 6 to get rid of Tordesillas, so it's kind of painful for them. The Dutch, this was a hard call. I thought about pumping the Dutch up so that on a later turn they'd have an easier time hitting the Portuguese, but you know what, they went and explored and grabbed a gold, giving them a monopoly. Monopolies are less important in this than I'm used to them being, though. So like in Europa Universalis, monopolies give you money and prestige. Here, they give you one opportunity, the ability to build merchant fleets. The Dutch are really good at building merchant fleets no matter what. They don't need monopolies, but you know, by taking one, they're preventing other people from building merchant fleets, so that's kind of cool too. And we're on the French, and here's the hard call. Do they want to colonize New France, or do they want to go to war? And I've decided war it is. So we spend one to go to war with Portugal. and we get 5 dice. Now, as you can see, luck plays a pretty big part in this game. We have no land, no locations on land where we're. And the Portuguese kick our butts again. There go 2 French fleets. There goes 1 Portuguese fleet. Now it's down to 3-2. Let's see if the dice. I don't trust wooden dice, so maybe if I swap these out, the French will go another round. And the Portuguese aren't willing to surrender. They're close to winning. You know? Okay, the French still only get 1. And the Portuguese get 2. And France is kind of saying, wow, this was not any better for us. Do I want to go to 1-1? Yeah, I do. How do the Portuguese feel? Well, they feel like, yeah, we're kicking butt everywhere. So, French hit, Portuguese hit. Both are out, and we have a piece, a white piece, essentially. On this. Let's go through the next sequence. The English took a scientist card. Missionary doesn't really help them because, you know, I mean, if you've got something in unrest, it's really great. If you don't, of course, for the Spaniards, it's necessary in this variant. But they increased their logistics, which was their plan. They thought about increasing their shipbuilding, which is only 1. But they're kind of like, you know what? I don't think anybody's going to attack us as long as Portugal's out there. And I don't know if I can take the brunt of the attack again. Merchant. Yeah. The Dutch did a merchant, which cost them, a diplomacy level. You can see everybody's diplomacy went down. A lot of people did merchant. It might not be the best turn to do merchant. The French actually seriously considered not doing it because they only made $2 off of it. Well, not $2. They only made 2 tokens out here, which they'll turn into bucks. But they want to do that because they have their trader set up next. And they really don't want to be left with no money to pull in. Their other option would have been to strip away. They have $4, so they could actually take this away from the Spaniards. Of course, it's getting up to where $4 is the limit for some people. Well, the Spaniards make good money. They have a double region with the booming city. Just think what that fucker could do over in one of these. Wow. But yeah, they've just turned incredibly wealthy by, you know, getting $6 of other people's money. Plus, they did a trade and pulled some of those goods back, getting their own cash as well as giving some to other people. The Dutch did a merchant, paid the cost on the diplomacy. And again, you've always got the choice. If you don't want to deal with this crap, when you play the merchant, you could play the governor. And in fact, for the Dutch, it might have been a really good idea to get it over there, especially seeing that the French had their merchant coming up next. We would have gotten a couple of bucks off them instead, and they wouldn't have lost their diplomatic level. But everybody's diplomacy is just going to hell because of the slave trade happening. And then the French did their merchant, which I already talked about. Again, hard call. The reason the French didn't do it is they only have regions with a single thing. And they're like, well, and I have a trader coming up, and there aren't that many tokens here, and I bet you I'm going to see more traders happening. Definitely regretting some decisions I made. We'll see in a bit. The English chose their viceroy. Again, you know, I could do a rebellion on the Portuguese. That would have been kind of cool, just to start causing them problems or building them up. You can't actually cause a rebellion without a rebel being there, but instead I built up South Africa, patting my own nest with the, if you guys stop Portugal, I'm in the position to move ahead. This is always kind of a problem in multiplayer games that have the capacity to knock people down, is if the second place player doesn't choose to knock the first place player down. The other players are left in this position of, well, do we hurt the lead player and try to make it possible that we can win? Or do we just throw our hands up in the air and say, you know, and I'm tempted to do this quite often, you know what? You're not doing your share, and you're the one who has the most to gain from this. So fuck you. I'm going to go after you. And I will do that quite often. The Portuguese did a trader in order to pull cash down into their pool. You can see actually everybody's got a lot of money now, even in France. One of the reasons the Spanish have as much money as they did is their colonial holding brings them up to, they ship 9 goods at once. The Dutch something similar, or the Portuguese something similar, 6, 7, 8 goods all at once. Boom. Just big money coming in on each call. The problem with that is one person gets the jump with the card. This wasn't the case beforehand. One person gets the jump with the card and other people don't have the capacity to make that big money off of it. So it kind of reminds me a little of something that happened in Supremacy where, you know, one person in the sequence could take all the money. And if you're very careful, you can probably prevent from ever setting it up for the other people. The thing is, setting it up for other people gives you money too. Setting it up for other people is doing the trade option and throwing things out there. The Spaniards did an exploration. They sure the hell don't want to raise things here. They are going to need money, and got themselves into the Rio del Plata, which is a good place for them. And not a terrible place to colonize, although, I mean, they could actually do it through the normal viceroy means, which actually makes sense. They actually populated over here with this large group of natives. If anything, they did the Extremadura. And I think the Extremadura goes away when Treaty of Tordesillas goes away. So they've got kind of a double-edged sword there. They have a lot to gain from that. Here's the one I regret, merchant. I was going to do governor with it, but then I turned it over and I'm like, oh, fuck. It's either merchant or nothing. So I took another hit in diplomacy, and you can see everybody's just crapping down to the bottom. And then the French got to do trader, so they pulled a lot of that money back. Of course, they don't have a huge economy, and they don't have a lot of colonial assets. So they end up with what amounts to not as good a payoff as some of the others have been getting. And the English played the trader to pull in a little bit more money for them, and the Dutch crap me. You know, it's funny as I'm doing that. For the first time, some people have, a lot of people have always complained about my handheld camera. It moves around too much. In the earlier videos, it was really horrible. For the very first time, and it may be that this camera actually has more stability than any other I've had, although I thought it had the same capabilities those did. In terms of like an auto stabilizer to prevent it from shaking too much. For the very first time, I've seen someone responded with, "My God, your hand is so steady," realizing that I was doing it by hand, but that it was actually decent. I don't know. I'm going to blame the camera, actually. Portuguese did an exploration, got themselves at their 9th victory point. They're almost at the win. Somebody's got to do something. Spain, well, Spain didn't have the ability to do anything. I mean, they could have done a scientific and raised their navy, but they've got a decent navy. They can't go to war with Portugal. Only France can. Oh, and because of that, I'm going to reverse something here. I spent $3 to build up a navy there. He's got plenty of navy. His initial intention was to spend that money to do logistics. So I'll reverse the choice on that. But these guys had to do a missionary so that they can colonize, etc. We'll see what happens. Hey, I'm going to be able to pay my luxury tax, even though it's quite high. We talked about him. Over here, I did an Explorer. And again, did it on the cheap. I got myself into the Wild West. So, you know, Spain is at 3. Dutch and France are at 4. 6 for England. And the Portuguese have, because of those wars. Oh, geez, did they steal? Oh, no, it was they did not win the war against France. But because of the war with England, you know, they're a point ahead already. And those were 2 wars they should have lost. So they should not be in this situation that they're in. But, hey, there's luck. You know, let me look at these. Yeah, there it is. Merchant fleets. The English probably need one. How much? Equal to monopolies, they can only buy 1. Yeah, might as well. It adds to expansion. Portuguese don't have any monopolies. Spaniards have a couple of monopolies. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of merchant fleets. I'm going to throw one more in. Merchant fleets are a good thing. And at the same time, I'm going to pay for my 3 prestige that I have. I might be able to get up to 6 next turn. I could get 1 here. No, it's going to be, it's fucking hard. The Portuguese don't have the problem because they're not paying for their prestige each turn. The Dutch, lots and lots of merchant fleets already. I don't know if I need more, but let's buy 1 more. Just because colonization, man. And the French almost certainly need some, but they do not have any monopolies, so they get nothing. Why you want monopolies? First player marker moves. Navies, yeah, the Portuguese want their 1 navy they can buy. Spain's not too worried about it. I'm going to hold off. Cash is just too important to the Spaniards. The Dutch, let's put 1 of these there. The French definitely need a navy. I will buy my 2 navies because I am the only person who can go to war with Portugal at this point. And we'll see where that ends up. Nobody's got any loans. Money's become easy to get right now. The hard part is diplomacy at this point. And that'll put us to next turn. And wow, I babbled quite a bit. So what we've got right now is the Portuguese are 1 point away from victory. What does that mean? Well, it took me about 3 minutes paging through and through this book, expecting to see victory conditions somewhere else. Especially bothersome. I mean, object of the game at the beginning, sure. But especially bothersome was Viceroy, which, well, now I can't find, which when I'm flipping through the back of the book, looks a lot like victory and is about where I expected this to be. Well, it turns out victory is pretty uncomplicated. It is, you reach 10 prestige, you win. The first player marker is sitting on the Portuguese. They should be able to win. All they have to do is succeed in, say, an exploration. Now, whatever, I don't remember what they did, but I wasn't really planning for something that extreme. I'm kind of used to play it out till the end of the turn, the person with the most victory points wins, or something like that, which, you know, is just more commonly used in games. But no. Had I known that, hey, I would have probably bumped this up or something like that. As it stands right now, all I have to do is make it to someplace easy. Well, where's easy? These aren't adjacent, so Arabia and Ethiopia are not easy, but Mozambique is close to Ethiopia. So that's a base of 3 down to 2. I can almost guarantee it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say they picked an explorer. I'm not going to pick the rest of the game. I'm not going to pick the rest of the people's pieces. I'm just going to roll these dice. If I don't get that 2, we'll burn their first explorer and figure out what everybody else does. But yeah, I don't think there's anywhere they have that's easier than that. Could they do something else? It's possible that there are other things they could do that they could guarantee. This is 2, though, and this is only 1 guy in it. So basically, they could colonize either of these. That would get them a victory point, but they can't do that on the first action. So I think the exploration is their best chance of winning without anybody being able to do a damn thing. And there it is. So that's the game. Obviously, I made some mistakes, and I didn't explore certain facets of the game. So, for example, I did not properly utilize the Spanish Extremadura ability, which, or is it Extremadura? I don't remember how they spell it. Which allows them to colonize things more quickly. But, on the other hand, Spain didn't find a lot. If we look at where they're colonized, they only discovered 1 place in the whole game. If their explorers don't find shit, if the dice don't come up with them, that ability doesn't really help them. Of course, I could have gotten into there a little bit easier. Would have saved me a card play or so. I might not have had to build my logistics up as much. Another situation that I did not take advantage of was the loans. I was terrified of them. You can't win with them. But that wasn't so much the worry. The worry was the amount of money that they accumulate. Each loan, no matter how tiny, and early in the game, you can only take a loan the size of your economy. That's the time when you want a loan. But I'm taking 2, I'm paying 50% of that loan in interest every turn. Now, in a few turns, maybe I can pay that off, but it's a scary concept to be paying 50% interest. I think there were probably other cards I didn't use that much. I didn't use the Rebel much. That's an attack card. That doesn't really help you, but it could crack somebody who's got a lead. Basically, the reason for it is, I was planning on using a viceroy, and that's what I've got available. The governorship could have been tweaked around a little bit more. But you know what? The people who got the most out of the governorship were the English and the Spanish. They were the only people who got any usage out of it. So it was a little, it obviously did not help the Spanish much, although they got a hoard of money and they're in much better position. But the English had it earlier in the game, and you can see they're doing pretty well. Why are the Portuguese doing so damn well? I think because their exploration succeeded. They have an extra explorer, that makes it more likely, and you can see they're in a lot of places. They discovered this. They discovered every place they're in except for this one. So that's a lot of prestige you just grab. They also, I believe, got the New World Exploration or the Circumnavigation, I don't know which. Spain's got a hard task with having to have enough cash to keep that luxurious situation available. They have a lot of advantages going for them. Not like Portugal doesn't, but Portugal's got its disadvantage too. They've got a lot of advantages going for them, but they've got one hell of a disadvantage, which is they have to get that tortosaurus out of the way. And once they do that, then they lose their advantages, or in fact, all of them, really. Extra missionary, extra Maduro, colonies, where you have the mission marker is all you can play. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, all they keep is really nothing. They keep their goals, and they keep their starting location. Let's take a look at the Portuguese ones. I cheated. No big shock. They did not have an extra explorer after Tordesillas went. How much did that gain them? I don't know. Probably a little bit. There we have that. The Dutch have an interesting thing because merchant fleets are so important. Being able to get those extra merchants is a big deal. I'm particularly interested in these, in the differences between the countries, because if you don't play with that, everybody's facing the same world. You know, everybody's got the same cards. So there's not a lot to analyze. There's certain patterns that work well, like getting the merchant trader, etc. For the French, how did I feel about them? Well, they have huge problems in terms of being the slowest out to explore. They feel a little weak to me, to be honest. The extra sovereign means they can play, and the diplomacy advantage with that means they can play around with there. But yeah, they are very weakened by that. And I don't know that their historical goals particularly help them. In some cases, the historical goals may be useful, maybe not. They do have India, which can be nice. But a lot of people have India. I think everybody except Spain probably has India as a goal. And all that means is when you colonize it, you get a victory point. And probably in most cases, if you build a boom town, you get one. Trying to think what else I have to say here. I just got distracted. Yeah, I'm not convinced that there's necessarily that all the countries are even in this version. They certainly are in the base version, right? Everybody's got the same rules. The only thing that might make you uneven is I got to be first player first, which it's a huge advantage on that first turn because you're the only person who can discover the Americas. You could get lucky. But maybe going for the Americas isn't the best move. What we saw was, hey, Portugal could have gone down the coast of Africa where they have some goals and maybe not concentrated right away on Brazil. And of course, they have 2 explorers early on. I actually really like Portugal. We were looking through these to see if there were others. Yeah, I didn't use the boomtown as much. I certainly used merchant enough. Sovereign, playing with the diplomacy, big deal because if you have the advantage in the Navy, you should be able to really hurt people. A lot better than you can with the rebels. But this is another factor where luck can play a huge role. And we saw that with the Portuguese beating the English and holding off the French. Both cases, they were at a disadvantage. Conquer is exceedingly important for colonization, but we didn't see a whole hell of a lot of colonization. We also didn't see anybody, anything successfully revolt, whatever that's worth. The trader, okay, again, like the merchant, these 2 are your way of making money. I kind of find the naming wrong on it. So this is goods from the market to your treasury, the trader. The trader brings stuff home. The merchant is making the deals out there. That, I don't know why. I mean, I guess the 2 terms are almost interchangeable, but it almost feels like they should be reversed, and I always did feel kind of weird with that. The financier, obviously, I didn't take out the loans, so I didn't really explore that very well. The explorer, very powerful, obviously. The ambassador, so the ambassador lets you play with the diplomacy track. The other thing is, it's a possible way of getting rid of rebellion, which means maybe a rebellion's really bothering you and you were planning on exploring, you can reverse that, or maybe you have multiple rebellions and your missionary is not enough, or maybe the other side of the missionary, the scientist, is incredibly important. The missionary, I feel like that's purely a defensive card for anyone except the Spaniards who need it for their colonies. The nature of the trading thing showed a few interesting things to me. One is that capability, which I didn't really take advantage of, although I threatened to on one turn, but the Spaniards didn't take whichever the second part is, which is the trader, I believe, to basically double your income by working with someone else. And it's the kind of thing that you probably would see between players who are falling behind rather than those who are above. I'd probably be more collusion in a game with more players. Oh yeah, not with more players, but in a game that wasn't being played solitaire. I sometimes have trouble catching that something like that's important, and it feels a little funny to me when the fact that you can. By opening up trade in that way, you can double your income. That feels too extreme. And it also feels like, the free market is the market. I don't feel like you would be doubling the international income by whatever's going on there. I'm not sure how much there is of that. And that's kind of a point that I have, actually. The mechanisms, in a lot of ways, are kind of intuitive and kind of understandable, but they don't quite do it. And the military aspects of it really disturb me, but some of the others do too. Now, you have to judge the game, though, for what it is. I don't feel like it grates on me as much as Wallace's Struggle of Empires or whatever it is, or Struggle of Nations. Struggle of Empires, I think it is. Struggle of Nations is the Avalon Hill Dresden game. Not Dresden, Leipzig. I have Leipzig for Viva la Emperor. I forgot about that. If I want something big. But anyway, boy, so easily distracted, right? Squirrel. There's that aspect of it, and then there's the factor of the timing of how the cards come out, where, oh look, somebody else scooped everything out of the market. I'm fucked. Okay, that's fair. It's a neat aspect to it. It's got a Euro-y feel, but it doesn't feel terribly appropriate, because whoever's pulling that crap into the market is probably able, at some cost perhaps, that cost of doubling income maybe even, should be able to restrict things. Now they actually can. They can refuse to let somebody else carry their things home. And how bad is that? Well, you're getting half the income, and then, I have this card, well, I could do the crappy financier. Yeah, okay. If this card were more valuable, that would be more tempting. I did not do that, much if at all. I did not restrict people's uses of goods in the market, because you can tell people, no, screw that, and prevent them from taking your money if you've got the card to deliver it. Or you can tell them, yeah, you can have one, but I'm going to deliver the rest. Problems with that? Well, one of the problems is maybe there's two people going, I don't know. There really isn't a problem with that. The really big issue for me with that actually has to do with something that one of my viewers, perhaps somebody new to my channel, because one of the viewers I think it was actually someone very, very normal, someone who's been watching me for a while, which is certainly not normal, which was that this is a really hard game to solo, because how do you forget all the stuff? Well, first of all, I play CDGs and all kind of stuff like that solo fairly often, where there's, I feel, as much pre-programming, planning, and maybe even worse knowledge of what someone else can do. Here, I know which 6 cards you have. I know what the possibilities are. I just don't know how they're going to fall. But it wasn't that hurt me. It's the usual that hurt me. I can't remember. I can't remember what my next card is. Of course, I can go flip them over and look at it or something. I can't remember necessarily what my plan is, which is why Spain and the Dutch tried to cut a deal that they couldn't actually conclude. Anyway, I think I've managed to use most of this up, and I don't really feel like I've only gone into oddly enough, usually when I babble this way, I'm like, I'm really cutting into what I'm planning on doing in, my review. But I don't feel like I did that here. I feel like I actually critiqued more the elements of why this playthrough maybe doesn't give me as much information as I need. Although I have, I think, a pretty good feel. At this point, I've learned from some of my mistakes or omissions. Like, wow, do not let the guy who's going next need only one prestige to win the game. But yeah. Anyway, that's about it. And I think enough ums for the evening. I'll be back with a review a little later.